Pentagon has begun deploying 1,500 active duty troops to the southern border. I'm Charles Benson, and this is On the Scene. This is part of President Trump's plan laid out in his executive orders. But can the president legally send active troops to stop unauthorized immigration at the border? Scripps News investigative correspondent Patrick Terpstra joins me now live. Patrick, you've been looking into this question. Have you found an answer, and does it depend on really the details of the mission?
It really does, Charles. We have started to really learn from our sources a little bit more about this deployment. Again, 1,500 active duty troops. It's not the first time that a president has deployed troops, but it may be the first time that these troops do something beyond simply supporting immigration authorities. The Pentagon announced it's sending 1,500 active duty troops to the U.S.-Mexico border, days after President Trump ordered a stronger military response to what he calls an invasion of undocumented immigrants.
As Commander-in-Chief, I have no higher responsibility than to defend our country from threats and invasions, and that is exactly what I am going to do.
The Defense Department says the troops will join 2,500 active duty personnel already at the border and will assist in the construction of more physical barriers, also providing deportation flights for more than 5,000 undocumented immigrants.
Index!
Deploying the military to the border in limited support roles isn't new. Presidents George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden all called up troops to assist immigration authorities. Governors have also sent state National Guard members. What's different is Trump's idea to possibly use active duty troops to enforce immigration laws. Trump has given U.S. Northern Command, which assigns military missions in the U.S., 10 days to draw up a campaign to seal the border and stop unlawful mass migration.
It would be an attempt to transform immigration enforcement into a military operation. Something like this, I think, would generate tremendous opposition and resistance.
A law from the 1800s prohibits U.S. troops from engaging in civilian law enforcement, but Trump says he may invoke the Insurrection Act that gives the commander-in-chief power to use military forces on U.S. soil in extreme cases. And Defense Department officials are telling us that this first wave of deployment is just the beginning. Again, they have some time to try to figure out whether they're going to invoke the Insurrection Act. And that really would be a big deal because that would be changing essentially the mission to be something more along the lines of law enforcement. You get into some questions about, is the military trained to do law enforcement when it comes to U.S. civilians or immigrants? So these are some issues that will have to be worked out, could end up in the courts. But for now, we do know that 1,500 active troops will be headed to the border. Charles.
Yeah, that's my question for you, Patrick. I mean, seems like the president is intent on getting military down there. Is it more or less just working through the language of what the mission will be?
Well, it really is unclear whether they will actually end up invoking that Insurrection Act and whether they want to see a shift from the military doing things like those airlifts, surveillance, and other support roles for Customs and Border Protection. Do they want to see that change and actually become more of an active law enforcement role? Now, when you read the executive orders, they make clear that they want to spend this time to try to ramp up their presence down there, but at the same time assess what the needs are. We should say that in the past couple of days, they've actually had a drop in the number of apprehensions at the border. So things right now there are pretty quiet. It's quite possible that they'll get there and realize that maybe there isn't such a need to have military take on law enforcement, but it's something we're going to be watching for sure.
For sure. Good information there. Scripps News investigative correspondent Patrick Terpstra. Thank you.